Hello there. I wanted to talk about something a little bit today that I was thinking about. And Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to talk about serial killers of the spiritual variety. Because why not? You know what I mean? Have you ever met someone? Let me zoom in here a little bit. I don't know why, but have you ever met someone and they were relentless about making you feel bad and you did not understand why? Maybe they were a family member or a romantic partner, or maybe someone that you worked with. Maybe they were your boss or a fellow coworker, somebody who it seemed like they would wake up every morning and they would make it their mission to break you. We've all had that experience. I don't know. I don't know if we've all had that experience, but I think a lot of people have had that experience. I know I certainly have. And one thing that after having survived that very recently, I came to the realization that a lot of people are very much like serial killers, but in the sense of in a more spiritual sense, not a physical sense. They're not going to try to unalive you physically, but they will try to do it spiritually, which is not really possible. I'm gonna get into that, but yeah. So before I get into everything, I'm gonna start off by saying that the spirit cannot be killed. It just can't. It can be injured beyond repair in one lifetime, but it cannot be killed. It cannot be destroyed completely. But yeah, it can be put down for the count. And what I mean by that is that it could take your whole lifetime to rediscover it. It could be you can just kind of be a shell of a person and even die as a shell of a person. And so, in that sense, it may seem that your spirit was unalived in your lifetime, but really what it is just it was put down for the count. And at some point, because energy never dies, it will, revive itself, perhaps, maybe in another lifetime or in another dimension, perhaps, who knows. But if, as far as this dimension goes, your spirit can be put out of commission. It cannot be killed, but it can be put down for the count. And so, knowing that you have an unbreakable spirit, that we all have an unbreakable spirit, really is, it can be very encouraging, and it can make you be optimistic, and you should be optimistic. You should know that you can come back from anything. Anything that tries to break your spirit, you can come back from it. You can. You can't kill the spirit. There's nothing stronger than the human spirit, the dog spirit, any spirit. Spirit is strong, in that it's resilient because it cannot die. It's like it's energy. It will change, but it does not die. So take heart knowing that, be optimistic knowing that that is an awesome thing about you and about the world and about everything. However, your spirit can be put down for the count. And you don't want to play around with having your spirit broken, to the point where you have to come back from having had a broken spirit, because it's a lot. It's kind of like playing with fire. You would not want to, let's say, decide to try some kind of highly addictive drug because you know that you can survive it, because now you have a lifelong struggle. You have a big challenge on your hands of trying to overcome whatever addiction you now have. So it's kind of like you may be able to do it, but why would you want to? It's a lot. It is a struggle. It is a challenge. It is something that you would have to devote your life to coming back from. And that's kind of the same way with your spirit. You don't want to play around with it being broken. There's that saying of, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But on the other side of that, what doesn't kill you can give you some really bad coping mechanisms. I've seen that as a saying, and that is very, very true as well. And I don't think people give that enough thought, you know? So be strong and challenge yourself, but don't, allow yourself to be broken if possible. Try to steer away from, being in situations where you can possibly break your own spirit. Not that you would break your own on purpose, but you know what I'm saying? Like, don't play with fire. I put it like that. Which leads me to my next thing. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my outline. Okay. So there are some people who know that the spirit can be damaged beyond repair. And as far as they are concerned, being that they're operating from a very low vibration, a vibration that only takes into consideration this finite lifetime, if they can break your spirit for the length of your lifetime here, it's kind of like committing a murder, like unaliving your spirit in this realm. Meaning whether your spirit recovers in the next one or not doesn't matter. As long as they can break it here, they are happy, and they don't want you to be able to come back from whatever they do to you. You know what I mean? There are people that exist like that. If people can exist who are killers, serial killers in the physical realm, people who are serial killers can exist also in the spiritual realm. I am trying to stay away from using the word narcissist because I feel like it is overused on social media, but one might consider a narcissist a type of spiritual serial killer, a person who is looking for souls to break, crack, the and the reason why I'm even talking about this is because personally, I'm a curious person. When I was younger, I would always be like, well, why would somebody do that? Like, how can somebody be like that? And, I didn't understand when people would be mean or go out of their way to do something hurtful. I was always trying to get to the bottom of it or understand that person's perspective or their logic or their reasoning. And it never quite dawned on me that their logic and their reasoning could be the same logic and reasoning as someone who goes out and commits really horrible crimes against, innocent people. Just like you wouldn't go out of your way to try and talk to a psychopath and try and figure out why they decided to, kidnap somebody and have them in their basement and do terrible things to them. Just like you wouldn't want to spend time with them understanding their perspective. It's the same with people who do this in a spiritual sense. And if you're not comfortable with the word spiritual, it's kind of like maybe psychological sense, like people are psychological serial killers. You can see it that way. But someone who is attempting to harm someone else, not physically, but perhaps mentally, in a way that takes them to a point where they can no longer, like, their life is not the same. Their life is worse and bad. And now they just don't have any control anymore. That is a way to try and kill somebody psychologically, is to render them useless and to make the rest of their life miserable. You know what I mean? There are people who do this, and trying to figure them out or trying to give them a chance or trying to understand their logic is just as kind of not smart as trying to get close to a serial killer as a regular person to understand where they're coming from. It's very Silence of the Lambs perspective to try and do that. But why would we watch that movie so we can understand. Well, I mean, I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but like Jodie Foster's character in that movie had to pay for the, you know what I mean, having to be that close to that creepy guy. You know what I mean? Sorry if I'm saying no, you know what I mean a lot, but you know what I mean. You know what? Now I got to go back and watch Silence of the Lambs because I don't remember how it ends, but I do know that people who do this, people who are serial killers, are smart. They're smart. That is the takeaway from that situation. You can think you're going to outsmart them, people who do this, like for real, and maybe you will for a little bit, but ultimately it's not safe to be around them, and that's pretty much the point, is that recognizing that these types of people exist, and just because they're not physically hurting you does not mean that they are not trying to psychologically hurt you. That, like, that's key, like understanding that they are just as dangerous as people who will physically unalive you, people who will try to psychologically do that. So being aware that your spirit is something that can be knocked out, if not, completely put down, it can be something that takes a blow. And once your spirit takes that blow physically, that starts to follow. What is it? As above, so below. That's kind of how that works. So once you are in the spiritual realm injured, physically, you're going to start paying the price as well. So it's important to recognize that there are people who go around attempting to hurt others, and there are a lot of people. I think romantic relationships are particularly susceptible to these types, just like in the physical world, where there are, men or even women, and not as many women, not even close when it comes to women, as are men that do this, but that they will look for unsuspecting, romantic partners or whatever, people who are just looking to be in a nice, well, relationship, and then they will take advantage of this person and hurt them. So, and there's been like a ton of documentaries about people who are like this, and there are people who they just do this. They will hurt vulnerable groups, marginalized people especially. I think need to take heed to this message, that just as someone may look at a person and see that they are particularly vulnerable, or susceptible, or perhaps, again, like, being, when you belong to a marginalized group, usually people, you don't have as much protection around you. So there are people who will look to take advantage of you, not just physically, but psychologically, or spiritually. And they will try to take advantage of what they see as your weakness, and try to use it to lure you in, and and hurt you, harm you. So it's something to beware of, that there are people who are highly intelligent, and they are looking to kill other people spiritually. They know what they're doing. It is not a coincidence. They're not going to change. They it's not that they didn't know any better. You're not going to win them over. You're not going to be the different one. You're not going to be the one to change things. And they're doing these hurtful and harmful and really messed up things for the same reason that a serial killer is keeping somebody in their basement and doing some horrible stuff to them there. Like, there are people like this. You know what I mean? And this is, I think this kind of goes back to, there was this whole bear versus man argument that was happening on TikTok. I don't know if it's still happening, but like, women were trying to explain that they are afraid of the extracurricular things that a man could do to them, as opposed to what a bear could do to them. A bear would just kill them, whereas a man could do things in addition to killing them that would be akin to torture, that kind of thing. But psychological unaliving, I don't know how YouTube is with the words, but like psychological, spiritual killing is also a part of that fear that a lot of women have of men, like knowing that this person might make it their mission to break their spirit, attempt to break their spirit. And I know a lot of women have had that experience. I've had that experience, and I'm thankful that I was able to be resilient, and come back from that. And thank goodness it happened when forever ago. But a lot of women are not able to kind of come back from some of the horrible things that have happened to them on a spiritual level. And we also have many of us have had the experience of being threatened physically as well. So either way, that is a thing. There are people out here who are serial killers of the spiritual variety, and it's important to kind of see them that way and not try to dig too deep into why and how, or think that, no, it's not that serious, it's not that dramatic, or they've gone through a lot. People will have all kinds of sob stories for why they are abusive, but some people are just killers. You know what I mean? Like, some people are just, they do not want to see you happy, because if you're happy, it means you're breathing, and they don't want to see you breathing. You know what I mean? That's the issue, is that, and so when your spirit is broken, it's kind of like, you're just a shell of yourself, and some people want to take that light out of your eyes, just like a person who might want to physically take the light out of your eyes. And there are people who want to do that in a spiritual sense. They don't want you to be kind of alive, like vibrant. They don't want you to be there's a word I'm looking for, and I'm gonna remember it by the end of this video, I bet. But either way, yeah, so there are people like that, and understand when that is happening. But in order to understand that, and also once you understand that, the key thing that you should do is start to beware of your spirit, strengthen your spirit, find ways to strengthen your spirit. So I have kind of three very big very broad things that you can do in order to guard against spiritual serial killers, and kind of protect your spirit. Number one, work out. And I don't mean just physically. I mean work out your spirit. Get stronger. Positive affirmations, meditation. Do creative things, anything that will make your inner child feel safe. That inner child is so strong, and it is so wise, and giving it a safe space to come out, and guarding that inner child as well, and letting it lead, but not in a childish way. Don't let it be a brat or anything like that, but like the creativity, that kind of thing. Your inner child feeling safe is a big part of your light, so positive affirmations, believing in yourself, meditation. You can believe in yourself and get that confidence by creating routines for yourself that you honor. So things that you do every day that show that you are committed to yourself, that you are putting yourself first in this way, at the very least. For me, it's going to the gym. So I have to go to the gym every day. And even when I don't want to go, I'm just like, no, we're doing this for us. This is me kind of creating this routine, creating and building trust in myself, that I am going to honor a commitment that I'm making to my body. So, these are ways that you can kind of work out your spirit, get it stronger, boost your self-esteem. You can do that by knowing what you like, rewarding yourself with things that you like to do. And again, yeah, positive affirmations, meditation. I can do a whole video talking about all of those things, but number one thing that you can do is get your spirit stronger by working it out, using the muscles, using these spiritual muscles. Second thing that you can do is stay away from risky situations. In other words, be cautious. Be cautious around your spirit. Just like you wouldn't go walking around at night in a dangerous neighborhood all by yourself. Don't do that on a spiritual level. And that means whatever it means to you specifically. I mean, like for me, that would mean staying away from certain types of people. It would mean staying away from certain types of jobs that I know are particularly stressful for me. Like, you got to understand what your triggers are and be very cautious and guard yourself when it comes to being around certain triggering situations. Try to recognize when someone seems dangerous. You know what I mean? Like when someone is doing certain things that kind of raise red flags for you. For example, if someone is love bombing you, or if somebody is attempting to kind of push certain boundaries. One video that I did on TikTok that went viral and that I'm working on a book on now is called The Dud Test, where it's a self defense strategy, but it's a spiritual self defense strategy where you test if somebody is going to attempt to hurt you. And so I can do, I think I've done a video on here talking about it before. Maybe I'll do more, but either way, you have to kind of guard yourself and recognize when a situation is unsafe. Stay away from people who have a history of breaking others, because there are times where we will actually know in advance if somebody has certain tendencies, and like the people around them have been hurt deeply by them. And so if you're witnessing somebody doing certain things that is spirit breaking to other people, do not think that you are different, or that that person just deserved to have their spirit. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the hopefully you or nobody else watching this would think that some people deserve to have their spirit broken. I don't, that's kind of messed up, but like, don't look at someone being unfair to others and being hurtful and harmful to others and think that that person is not going to try that with you, or wouldn't possibly try that with you, or that person is safe to be around. They may not be safe to be around. So just kind of be on guard and be cautious when it comes to your spirit. The third thing, and I already touched on it a little bit when I talked about the Dud test, is learn self-defense for your spirit. Learn self-defense. You don't have to go around being defensive and, that kind of thing, but make sure that you have some comebacks in the chamber for yourself. There are things that you know about yourself that are triggering for you, and practice what you would say back to those triggers, or practice how you, not to say would like defend yourself against the triggers, because that's energy in another sense as well, but practice becoming comfortable with whatever it is that used to trigger you, or that does trigger you. Try to kind of make peace with things that trigger you, or go to therapy and meditate and do things that will help you cope with your triggers, so that other people can't puppet string you by triggering you on purpose. As mentioned, I talked about the Dud test a little bit. The Dud test is when you give somebody something that is not a real trigger for you, and see if that person attempts to use it. And so, in this sense, it's a good way to see if somebody has very bad intentions for you, if they're trying to trigger you on purpose, which is, when you trigger someone and that's kind of a way of trying to spiritually unalive them. And so if somebody is willing to kind of try and control you, and by controlling controlling you by way of harming you with things that they know are harmful to you, that is a person who has the ability to try to spiritually unalive you. So getting to a point where you don't have any triggers is a nice point to get to. It's something that we should all aspire to. And so try to get that as a self-defense strategy, is to not be so affected by your triggers that you can be controlled by them. So having some comebacks in the chamber, especially for the things that you are most self-conscious about, is a big thing that you can do for your own self-defense, using strategies such as the Dud test, and staying ready so you don't have to get ready. And if you do find that you have to defend yourself, you can really, really do it, because you've already strengthened your spirit. You've already done all of the work that needs to be done, so that if somebody comes along trying to make you an easy victim or whatever, you can't, it's going to be difficult. And a lot of times when you're working on your spirit, when you're working on strengthening your core, people do, they see it from a mile away. Serial killers do not like that. So make yourself a really, really bad victim for serial killers. And also, you want to kind of look out for the people in your community a little bit. Like if you can strengthen somebody else's spirit by affirming them, and by being an easy person to be around, like don't be a rough, judgmental, like try and strengthen somebody by working them out, and you don't know what they can handle. Make sure that you are a safe space for other people and other people's inner child. This is a great way to deter spiritual serial killers from harming people in your community, because they may steer clear of you because they see that you have a strong spirit, but they may see somebody that they think has a weaker spirit and they might try and go for them. And you want to make sure that that person's spirit is strong enough to be able to stand up to whatever serial killer is going around trying to harm people and trying to lure people into their trap so that they can break their spirit. So yeah, look out for your peeps, look out for yourself, and recognize that just because somebody is not a physical threat, even though a spiritual threat is a physical threat, but like just because somebody is not out to try to physically hurt you doesn't mean that they may not have intentions of hurting you in another way, because they know that they're not going to go to jail for killing your spirit. You know what I mean? They can do that freely, and there is no prison sentence in this realm for that. So that's why a lot of people go that route in the first place, is because they're like, oh, I can kill people and nobody would know. You know what I mean? Like, or everybody would know, but it's like, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? So make it hard for people like that. Make it hard for them. Wake up every morning with a strong, optimistic, happy spirit, because you work on it, and you know that your spirit is resilient and it'll come back from anything. So don't give it nothing that it even has to come back from, because it's just going to stay right here. All right. So that's my video. I think it's way longer than I had planned on it being, but I hope this was helpful to someone. And if you liked my video, if you want more like this, please comment below. And say anything that I may have missed. I probably missed a few things or whatever. Subscribe, like, do all the things, push all the buttons, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.